Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be drawing Verosika from the latest episode of Helluva. Unlike most of my art videos, this will only barely be a time-lapse. What I mean is it'll be considerably longer and slower, giving me more time to talk about things. Like how sexy this demon girl is, except that's kind of obvious, isn't it? This video was originally going to be a live stream, but I did not feel ready to talk and draw at the same time, plus the only time I feel even remotely comfortable streaming is late at night when most of my viewers are presumably asleep. Or at least they should be. You guys need more sleep. Yes, I'm talking to you. Go to bed. You can watch the rest of this video tomorrow. Anyway, all jokes aside, instead of live streaming, this is just going to be an extended speed paint video where I ramble without a script. I've written down a vague outline of topics, but I'll try to keep the video freeform, which is not what I usually do. May Vivzipop bless this video and give me strength to proceed. Alright, enough of this intro, let's get into it. So, Verosika, I decided to draw her because I usually draw furry characters, but the thing about Verosika is she's like a demon, so she has that element of like she's not human, but she is pretty much shaped like a human, so it's like I thought it would be interesting because I mean the only major difference between her and a furry character is she has a human nose, or actually she doesn't have a nose in the cartoon, but I gave her one because I figured, you know, the tendency of a lot of fan artists is to add anatomical detail to simple characters, and I sort of did that here, but I also kept the Vivzipopian elements, like the angular forms and the exaggerated, I always fall back on the term stylized, even though it doesn't mean anything. It's just an abstract representation of reality that still resembles it up to a considerable point, I guess. And also the shading, what I did here was I softened it. I mean, you can't see that yet, so maybe I'll talk about it later. But yeah, I guess I should talk about my channel because that's what you're watching this video on. So this channel has reached 13,000 subscribers. That's pretty neat, I guess. It's way more than I expected. One thing I want to do is transition more into art-related content because this channel started with Honeycast Animatics, which I could very easily just coast off of that and continue to make those and be an animatic channel, but that wasn't the original idea for this channel. It was meant to be more than that. That's why the first couple videos on my channel are animations and the EB synth demo. I thought that was pretty revolutionary when I realized that you could use the program to make like you can actually finish animations automatically. It's like a big step forward for the industry, and I just discovered it all by myself. So from the get-go, I had this pretentious idea that this channel was going to change the world or whatever, but then I realized, you know what would really get me attention if I just did fandom content. I just applied my talent to fandom stuff, which, while I was kind of pretentious at the start, like I'm super good at art and everyone needs to know my glory, because one big inspiration for me was Disney movies. Like I wanted to animate just like Disney, and not like I wanted to like run the whole gamut from like perfect animation, perfect line work. That's why one of my videos is like I wanted to recreate the Disney style exactly, which is kind of unreasonable for one guy to do. But you know, at the same time, I was willing to accept that in order to get noticed, you have to sort of dip your toes into more lowbrow content. But I do genuinely enjoy Honeycast, so I enjoyed making that kind of content, and I was really surprised when I took off from that. Like right after I made the channel, I was instantly seeing results. Like I went to the NewTubers subreddit, which I was considering posting there, but most of the people there are like personal finance or lifestyle vlog or gaming channels, and I felt like it would be out of place when like this gay flamboyant furry character, which I'm not really flamboyant, but I sort of pictured myself as being kind of a fish out of, I don't know why I said fish out of water, just sort of I wouldn't fit in there, I guess. But you know, it would be a unique perspective because most of the people there are a lot of people who don't have what I have, and I always thought of myself as being one of those average guys who don't really get attention, but then I suddenly got attention, which I mean, like, I'm good at art, I think, and I got good at art through practice. But I guess what really set me apart was that I really, really wanted to be good at animation. And then when I did animatics, I actually sort of toned down a bit. Like the Ed Wolf animatic was originally going to be an animation. I was going to make it look like an anime or something, but then it just sort of turned into an animatic. That's why it's in full color, by the way. It's because I had a sort of ambition with that video. And then as I got attention, I sort of focused more on speed, I guess. I am speed, just putting out weekly content. And somehow I've never missed an upload. It's been at least, the thing about the channel is that it's not like every week, it's every 2 weeks at the absolute maximum. But anyway, yeah. And then when my Luna animations took off, it was like my channel exploded again. Like it exploded with the animatics, and then it exploded again. Like it took off for the second time because I had a new style of content that was sort of tangentially related to the Honeycast stuff. But the thing is, I can't just keep doing that because my first instinct after a video takes off is, hey, now I can make authentic content. But when my channel has sort of settled down, like it kind of has now, it's like I could keep chasing that high. One of my video ideas was to animate Luna, but like have her dance or whatever, but like dance to a song that can be monetized on YouTube. But I figured I might as well just keep making art content, and maybe I'll make something that takes off, and the incredible length of the video will leave plenty of space for mid-roll ads, I guess, because, money. But it's not really about, if it is about money, I don't want it to be about money going forward. I just want to tell people about my interests and stuff, Oh, geez, her glasses were kind of hard to get right because I didn't want to cover up too much of her face, but I also wanted her to have cool shades because she has cool shades in the cartoon with hearts on them. I really like adding hearts to my drawings. It's just adding a little feminine flair to everything. I guess it's just really cute, I think. You can just have the most raunchy, sexy character, but if they have a heart motif, it makes it adorable. And it's fun that Verosika has that, but again, it was really hard to incorporate her glasses, and to be honest, I'm still not sure if I did it the best, but it came out okay. It's one of those drawings where I flip-flop on my opinion of it. I mean, I think it came out very clean, but there are some things that maybe I could have done differently, and it would have maybe looked better. I don't know. So commissions, basically, I have a script, but it's just about basic topics. This topic is about commissions. I had no idea what I was doing with those. I would set up commissions on Patreon, then I would take them, then I would stop promoting my Patreon, then I would set up a Ko-Fi, and then I would close commissions on that because I was just really anxious and panicky and stuff. But eventually I decided, I'm just going to plug the Patreon and then just roll with it. And you know what? I got my first real commission. Like I had one before, but it was kind of a mess because the person just said, draw a foxy lady. And then I'm also going to suggest this super lewd drawing of a fox spreading her cheeks for the viewer, and not the ones on her face, and I was like, oh, is this even allowed? But of course I complied because I'm as horny as anyone else, I enjoyed it, obviously, but it was like 2 commissions in 1 month for one price, and I hadn't even been paid yet. It was like, and by price I mean slot. Like it was 1 slot, and it was filled up with like 2 drawings. Actually, what happened was the person just subscribed to my sketch tier, requested the art, and then unsubscribed from that, and then subscribed to my final drawing tier. And I don't think I really got all of the money for that. It was kind of a mess. Plus, they were using Patreon messages, which meant that I didn't have any reference for it. And when I was doing the final drawing, I basically finished the entire drawing and then showed it to him. And he was like, I expected this to be way sexier, but you know what, whatever. Of course, he was polite about it. And the funny thing is, he was also a YouTuber, and he had only barely less subscribers than me. So I was like, hey, I know what your kinks are. I'm not going to mention their names, but I mean, I've thanked them in a video, but I guess it doesn't matter. And then, of course, they unsubscribed, which I was at first kind of hurt by it, but then I realized, obviously they're going to unsubscribe when they're done with my services. But yeah, this sort of gave the impression that Patreon was really stressful and finicky, and I sort of stopped promoting it. And then I had a Ko-Fi, and the plan was I was going to do commissions on that. I even took screenshots of the whole setup in one of my videos. That video kind of underperformed, so no one really saw it or used it. A few people donated on Ko-Fi, and I sort of immediately closed commissions, and I felt guilty about it. But since I had just advertised it, but I mean, the Ko-Fi was still there, so I didn't feel too bad. But then I decided, you know what? I have a Patreon. I'm just gonna plug that. Like, fuck it, right? I have it. I might as well use it. And I was a little nervous, but when I actually got my first real commission request, it was a totally different experience from the first one, because it was through Discord, which I had Discord set up in case anyone ever wanted to talk to me. Obviously, I have much less to say to them than they might have to say to me, because the Discord, the first time I had it open was people. I guess I can just send funny memes or just emoticons or whatever, but the way it's set up right now makes much more sense. You use it for commissions, and it's perfect for that because you can send reference material, and I can send the sketch in progress so they know exactly what it looks like and what it's going to look like, and they can critique it and I can make adjustments, and then they can give me the go ahead to finish it. And it's just so much more collaborative, and it's like thinking of the people commissioning art for me as people rather than scary, vengeful gods who can smite you if they're disappointed, if they're even remotely disappointed. But yeah, this setup is much better, and it's much closer to how it. I looked up a video how do you do commissions, and this is much closer to how that was. Another thing I was worried about was what if they request something really weird and gross, like inflation or something. And it's not gross, but it's not something I would feel the most comfortable drawing. But it turns out you can just say, okay, this is my policy. I'm not going to do anything too fetishy. And then Patreon, I could say I will only grant one request per pay period, and then there's also a checkbox which basically allows you pay up front basically, and it's it instantly gets deposited to my bank account, and then what happens after that is just sort of basic human decency. You give them the service they subscribe to you for, and it works out, And another thing was I was considering uploading my last commission, but obviously, we're all horny furries. It's kind of risque, but that's the thing. I've always been sort of weird about that. Technically, I could show this to people, but it's kind of spicy. And I mean, I guess I could post my commissions to the furry subreddit, advertise my services, but or I could post it to Twitter, but I mean, presumably people are going to keep wanting me to do art for them as long as the thing is open. I actually got my first request from DeviantArt of all places, and that was the more dignified, the more serious experience compared to people who subscribe to my Patreon from my YouTube community tab, which is kind of funny. You'd think that DeviantArt had all the degenerates, but turns out the degenerates on DeviantArt are a very cultured people. It's like I would imagine that my patrons are they're holding a wine glass, and it's like oh yes, a man of culture am I. I wish for sexy Pokemon post haste, And then there's live streams like I had a setup where I would wait until everyone was in bed, no one was bothering me, and I would just start the live stream because, considering that I'd never done it before, I was more than ready to do it. But after I had done it a few times, I was like, you know what, maybe I don't want to, like the quality of my art was kind of lower than it usually is. It's still good, I guess, but it's not as refined. It's not up to my high standards. That's the thing when you're doing art, your standards just get higher, and you have to take something that looks okay or even good, and you have to say, that's good, but it can be better. Max Lord from Wonder Woman. I saw that film recently, and it was very interesting to have an actual furry character in a superhero movie, Cheetah. Anyway, back to art, back to live streams, I should say. So basically, in the first live stream, I muted myself accidentally twice, and it was it was almost laughable, but it wasn't funny for me. It certainly wasn't conducive to a good video, but it was. And then there were people in the chat saying swears, and not regular swears, actual uncomfortable topics, like the R word. It refers to when you have sex but without consent. And I mentioned that I was uncomfortable with the Ed Wolf flirts with Ashley again animatic. That's what it's called as of right now. But what it comes down to is I drew Ed Wolf with his shirt off, and I don't know. I just wanted to see if I could get away with it because he's being very flirty with Ashley, and it's but then he gets really close to her, and I don't know. The way I depicted it, and my latest, I felt like I had to justify not including it in my animatics compilation where I did it all in color, and a convenient explanation for that is it has less than 100,000 views, which means it isn't a best of, but the video the compilation itself didn't get any more views and that's actually a good sign, I think. It didn't get all that many views, but it has about the same amount of views as my Minerva Mink video, which means I can actually that's a really good reason to keep making art content because it's going to get the same amount of attention anyway. Might as well, if I'm going to be gambling with views, I might as well gamble on the content I want to make, like this. But yeah, like I said, this video is originally going to be a live stream, but live streams are stressful, there are plenty of excuses oh, what if someone hears me and starts a conversation? Meanwhile, it's Mom, I'm streaming, get off. And then there's just so many ways the live stream could go wrong. But with a video like this, it's easier because, I still wanted a completely unscripted setup. And what I might do is what I am going to do is I'm going to premiere it so I can we can all pretend it's a live stream, and I can talk as if it's a live stream, except it's edited slightly so that there's not ungodly amounts of silence. Because the thing about my second live stream where I drew Angel Dust and Luna is that I didn't talk for a lot of it, and there were some people in the chat who, at least I think there were, I'd have to check, but it was as if I was muted anyway because I wasn't talking, because I didn't know what to say. But with this setup, I can basically plan on, okay, I need to talk for 1 hour, and I can divide that up into different topics, each topic being 6 or 7 minutes or 7.5 minutes, give or take, and then I'll just fill out time, but I'll make it so that I'm always talking so that no one will think I'm muted because this isn't a live stream. I don't even know if this is interesting to anyone, but I mean, I'm talking about things, and this could be useful advice for someone who wants to talk for an unspecified amount of time. I know there's plenty of people in the NewTubers subreddit who might want advice. Maybe I will make a post and I'll link this video. But yeah, I might still live stream if it's been a while and it's like I might as well do it. I was considering live streaming me animating the Blitz animation, like where I replace my dumb T-posing Blitz with an actual animated Blitz with all the bells and whistles, like all the horns, all the textures and stuff. But I mean, the thing about 3D animation is that it doesn't take all that long, so I just did it and I was done, and I just uploaded it and it got 200,000 views for whatever reason. Like, I am completely floored that my videos are getting that much attention. So yeah, just keep watching my videos or just don't watch them, and I'll just keep floundering about until I get an audience again, and it'll be for a completely different kind of content like this. I think that's the key to growing a channel is adaptability. It's like a balance. It's like you make, like when you've discovered something that gets you a lot of attention, like wow, you should have seen Luna's treat right after I uploaded it, because like my previous Luna animations, they got big, like they got a burst of attention, which like 10,000 views, and I was like, whoa, that's more than normal. But then they got even more attention later when YouTube started really recommending them. And then I decided, I'm going to make a third one. And then I uploaded the sort of content people were watching right after I uploaded the sort of content people were watching right after my other videos were already getting attention. And it got 20,000 views in the first hour, which is way more than a channel of my size is supposed to get, quote unquote. Like there were channels, like the benchmark for views is like I've noticed that there are channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers that were getting the same amount of views as I was getting. So I was like well above average. But the thing about that is those channels get the same amount of views consistently, whereas I only sometimes got it when I made exactly the right video at exactly the right time. But I mean, it's not exact, I guess. One theory I had was that, I was uploading, like my animatics took off during summer vacation and my Luna animations took off during Christmas break. But I mean, my videos were still reaching that same view count sort of thing, like in January when school is presumably in session. And then and then here's the awkward part where my pole dancing animation took off, which is like, it's like that took me like weeks. It took weeks, and it took months of procrastination, weeks of effort. And I certainly didn't want to really do it. It wasn't fun, but it was like the result that was fun because it was super high quality. And, that has 400,000 views. It got attention around the time my Luna animations got attention. And recently, it's still like the video on my channel that's getting the most views. So I figured I would make another one of those, like, where Alistair says the F word and it gets bleeped out. But I just didn't want to finish it. It just wasn't fun. So I just left it as a rough animation to see how it would do. And it sort of underperformed. But like I said earlier, it got the same amount of attention that my speed paints were getting, which again means that I don't have to do what other people want me to do. I can do what I want to do. And I have enough subscribers where it'll get a modest amount of attention and maybe it'll take off. Like the goal for my channel is to take off making a video that's close to what I want. So maybe this will be it, but I doubt it, but we'll see, I have plenty of video ideas, and like my idea is to sort of dip into the whole has-been hotel thing until, actually, I don't know, maybe I should just start making whatever, like the Minerva Mink video. That's not has-been hotel related, and that's what I said at the opening, but, I'll just do what I want, do some has been Helluva Boss Honeycast stuff just whenever I get the idea. And who knows what monstrosity I'll become in the future. Maybe I'll get 1 million subscribers. But that's almost too many. Like, I don't want that much attention. I just want just enough attention. That's all I really want in the end. That's all anyone really wants, right? You don't want the stress of being famous, but you also don't want to be completely ignored. It's like everything. It's like the right balance. I guess I should talk about how I started drawing, because I'm drawing in this video, but basically, like, I could have just drawn people and trees. That's why I always come back to I could have drawn people and trees, but those weren't interesting to me. But the thing about that is that was what for the longest time, I thought that was my only option, really. I didn't even think about drawing cartoons, but once I started watching old cartoons, like the Looney Tunes and stuff, I was like, hey, I can, these are interesting enough to me that I should try to draw them. So, and then I realized, maybe I should just directly reference like Bugs Bunny and draw him, just draw him standing there. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy, but one holdup I had was that I couldn't draw the exact pose, but in hindsight, that would have actually been more helpful. But I sort of had this moral qualm with, like, doing what the only thing that stopped it from being straight up tracing, which, drawing theft, is that I wasn't tracing. I was just looking at it and drawing it separately, which, it trains that on its own, it trains muscle memory, or it trains your artistic eye, I guess I should say. And when I started drawing, it was like just making small little scratches on the paper, like timid little lines that, it has to be perfect the first time. The mark of a skilled artist is one that can draw a perfect circle, right? Like in one go, in one line. But no, that's not it at all, as I've learned. It's just more about, like, you start with the big picture and then you slowly work on the details. But what I did was, like, I looked at the shape of Bugs's head and saw, okay, it's this anthill shape. So I drew an anthill shape. And then I looked at his eyes and thought, okay, these are like almond shapes. And then I drew almonds in there inside the anthill. And then I drew like little ovals. Then I drew his ears, which my first drawing of Bugs is like, he has spiky ears, which they should flow out. They're very curvy and soft, but I was very literal. It was like, I don't know if the left and right side of the brain thing is true, but basically I was using the logic side of my brain rather than the artistic side, which sees what, like, the idea of rabbit ears. It's like, my logic brain was like, okay, this is a long shape, so I just drew a long shape. And then once I finished the head, I was just kind of exhausted. And, the mouth, it's like there's a sideways 3 for the mouth, and then lines coming out from that for the cheek dimples, and then an upside down anthill for the mouth. It's like logic shapes. It's as if I was graphing him out on a calculator or something. And then the body took, like, it was really noodly, and he had these really flimsy appendages and floppy hands because, of course I still have trouble with hands. Of course, I was completely out of my element with the hands there. And then the feet, bunch of curves. Don't know how to describe his feet, and then once I was done with the drawing, I was actually kind of proud of it. Like, I knew it wasn't that great, but I knew it was way better than, because I actually put effort into it rather than just goofing around. Like I had a preliminary drawing phase, but that was just stick figures and cartoon depictions of myself because I was the only person I was comfortable drawing, because other people are scary, But, once I realized that I could be kind of good at this, maybe if I just kept doing it, I was like, what would it look like if I drew Daffy Duck? So I drew Daffy Duck, and already there was improvements because I learned from the first drawing. And then I drew Sylvester, and that was a little better. One thing that I kept doing was I kept forgetting to draw the tail because I was a human person. But I can't exactly forget to not include the tail when drawing humans. So, Anyway, then I just kept going, and I got better and better, and it was this really explosive period because it was almost about like, it wasn't even about skill. Like, it was about, I can draw hot girls. That's not something I usually do. That's very contradictory to who I previously thought I was as a person. But apparently this is a really big part of me now. And it helped me explore my sexuality almost. Like it wasn't about the technical quality of the art. It was about like the ideas behind it. Like, what can I draw? What it was about exploring my own mind, my own psyche. And the fact that it was mostly about that meant that I had a motivation to keep drawing, even if the drawings didn't look perfect. And then I just improved naturally once I kept doing it. And I always had an idea because I could just draw this character that already exists. And then a few months later, I had the confidence to draw my own original characters. And then that was its own explosion. Like, what sort of character concepts can I come up with? I mentioned in my introducing my OCs video that a big thing was, I'm going to draw a shirtless wolf. And then I was sort of flustered drawing that, which sort of led me to believe that I was attracted to men as much as I was women. And then I looked at human men, and I was like, nah, maybe not. But then I realized, maybe it's just because I'm shy around human men. Like, if I just opened my mind up to the idea of being attracted to human men, I would actually be sort of into them, And of course, I was uncomfortable. I'm still sort of weird about talking about sexuality on YouTube because it's like talking about your base instincts. It's like, how am I supposed to maintain my composure when talking about that? How am I supposed to make this like a nuanced topic? It's like you're either attracted to someone or you're not. Your penis expands or it doesn't. It's like, But the way I am is like, there's plenty of interesting stuff to talk about in regards to that. So I might as well mention it because it does factor into my art. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But yep, that's how I got good at art. Was I was really horny. That's kind of an oversimplification, but it is sort of part of the truth. It's like, can I get away with drawing this woman? And of course I could, because obviously the universe isn't going to explode because I drew a girl. And it just kept going. And like, before I started drawing, it was just video games. But video games sort of stressed me out because it's like I'm placed in a lobby with strangers and I'm supposed to perform for them. I'm supposed to win. Or even if I'm not winning, I'm supposed to at least do sort of well. And I would spread myself thin. It's like, should I play Dota? Should I play League of Legends? Should I play Rocket League? Should I play Smite? Should I play Fortnite? And I just gave myself too many options. And it was like, every time I played it, it was like starting over. Like, I am just a complete noob at this. And I'm just awful at this game, and I'm supposed to work up from that. And then once I get even sort of good, it's like, that was way too exhausting. I'm going to stop playing for like a month. And then by the end of that month, it would just be like, well, my skills have deteriorated. So it was like, that was my one interest. Like, in theory, I'm interested in playing like Dota 2 and League of Legends, but in practice, it's more stressful than anything. And the funny thing is, that's how I viewed animation. In theory, this is really artsy stuff. Like, it's like expression, it's like shapes, lines, personality, and color and stuff. But in practice, it's like, even just doing the rough animations, it's really stressful. But the base experience is just drawing, which is really relaxing. I can just put my time into making sure it looks good. And then eventually I'll have something that people can look at and go, oh, he's perfect. Every drawing he makes is perfect. And it's every line, he must know exactly what he's doing. And it's like, I mean, to an extent I do, but there's plenty of stuff that's not all that great by my standards, of course. And the only reason my standards are so high is because I've practiced so much. And the only reason I practiced so much was because I loved doing it so much. And the motivation wasn't getting better, it was just expression. But it was also, to be fair, getting better. But like my motivation was getting better, but like for art was getting better. My motivation for that was improvement. But the primary driving force behind not giving up when my art wasn't perfect was I want to see how well I want to see what it would look like if this character was doing this. Or I mean, at the beginning it was just I want to see what it would look like if I tried to draw this character, but later on it was like I want to see what this character will look like when they're doing this thing. So yeah, and that's kind of how I like it's like drawing saved me from being incredibly depressed. Like lately I've been having like a quarter life crisis, and the only reason it isn't absolutely debilitating is because I have art to fall back on. And of course I have a channel. I have people who watch my videos and stuff. It's like there's a part of me going, no, this isn't how it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to be depressed. Like I browsed the NEET subreddit. Like I keep bringing up Reddit because I browse that website a lot. But, you know, people who aren't in education, employment, or training, which as luck would have it, I am technically under the employment of YouTube, even though I'm not earning too much as far as jobs are concerned. I am earning enough where I can make back my payments on like Spotify Premium and like Adobe and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's like things are working out surprisingly well for me. So I'm thankful for that, you know. And it's all because I drew Bugs Bunny that one time in 2018. So yeah, that was a very key moment in my life. I'm not sure if there are other key moments in my life that are as big as that one. But I'd say, you know, uploading my first YouTube video would by definition count as a key moment. But at the end of the day, it was drawing that really, it was a huge moment for me in terms of self-discovery. And I'm thankful that I was able to do that. I was able to just start on this journey rather than remaining in the dark, I guess. I don't know what I would have done without art. All right, I know I've always said stuff like, you know, I've been talking about the content I actually want to make as opposed to Honeycast and stuff. But the thing is, and I'm surprised I didn't mention this in my OCs video where I introduced all my original characters, was that basically when I saw the Die Young music video, that was actually a pretty pivotal moment for me artistically because it inspired me to actually draw original characters in the first place. It's like, in fact, my fox girl Olivia is basically sort of like a version of JJ. And Vivzipop also has a video that I particularly like where she has two fox girls and it's animated to a song from Wicked, like Popular, which in itself is a popular song. I mean, obvious joke, but it's like the animation is just very lively. It's like it's rough, but it's very expressive, and the characters are very well designed. And I guess, in fact, my second character was inspired by Wile E. Coyote. You know, I called him Steve, fucking Steve. But Olivia was just a Vivzipop ripoff. A Vivzipop ripoff, basically. You know how much I have to cut out when talking? It's like, Jesus. Like, I stutter, and I'm surprised I'm able to even record this video. But anyway, yeah, Vivzipop is a big inspiration for me. And what's really interesting is that she didn't just make that one music video and stop. It's like she keeps coming out with things like a 30-minute pilot, then a 10-minute pilot, then 3 10-minute episodes, then a short holiday film, like a short special, and then 2 music videos based on the other shows, and then like a short film based on her comic of all things, which you'd think that it would just remain a comic. It seems like the sort of thing that's like, yeah, it's her passion project, but Like, obviously, it wouldn't be realistic to expect a whole animation to come out of it, but then that happened. And, there's critique videos talking about how jank the animation is, and I don't disagree, but, it gets refined over time. It's like she has a whole studio working for her now, and it's just really inspiring to see. It's like there's no one quite like Vivzipop on YouTube, because like a lot of people, they have like at the absolute most like one like short film, but she has several. She has like a whole series, and she's working with like a TV network or whatever now. And we're just now at the point where we can expect regular animated content as if it was from a studio. I mean, it is, but it's independent. And, very exciting stuff. And like, obviously Vivzipop is a huge deal for me because the podcast based on it is how my channel took off in the first place, because Ashley herself uploaded, or she added one of my Animax to her playlist, and it seems like a small thing in the grand scheme, but for me it was huge. It's like 2 years after my art explosion, I had a YouTube channel explosion. And so yeah, obviously I hold Vivzipop in high regard, or Vivienne, that's her real name, just Viv. Viv is a very important person in my life, despite me not knowing who she is, or anything about her personally. Like, there's a brief moment where it's like, ooh, what does she even look like? It's a mystery. And then she appeared on a sort of panel after Hazbin Hotel came out. It's like, oh, she is a girl. And that's another interesting thing, is that she likes to draw women, even though she is a woman, because there's plenty of guys who like to draw women for obvious reasons, because it makes them hard. It makes their pee-pee hard. And even though that's true for me, when I started drawing men, it was like, there's something about being the gender that you're sexualizing. It's like it makes you think about things differently. It's like, how would I want to be sexualized? And then you start thinking about women like that too. It's like, that's why being bisexual sort of makes it so that, like, normally when you draw a woman, it's like, I want to have sex with them. But for me, it's like, I want to be them. It's like, I wish I were as free and confident as the women I'm drawing, and also the men I'm drawing. Obviously with the men, it's like, I am a man, so. And I also identify as a man. So, it's like, it's different, I guess, when it comes to men. But I mean, I've been on a woman streak lately, just drawing women, playing into the whole furry thing, because that's what people like. And it's also what I like, don't get me wrong. But it just so happens that it's what a lot of people like furries. The reason I mostly draw furries is that there's a whole community based around it. Like, the character I'm drawing right now is not a furry character, which is kind of unusual for me, but it's like, there are characters I've drawn where, like, I've anthropomorphized so much, I've anthropomorphized them so much that they're basically just humans with like a triangle dog nose. Like, basically they're just a human at that point. And I mentioned in my Minerva Mink video that was what drew me into Minerva. That was what made me a furry in the first place, was that she was basically a human but with animal characteristics, which that's what anime cat girls are. And they're basically humans but with fluffy ears. And I've heard that they also have human ears, but like the ears are just an aesthetic thing. So I don't know, I might just become an anime guy, because anime has its own community, but it's sort of splintered off into multiple different shows and movies and games and stuff. In fact, it's probably actually bigger than furries, but I know furries are pretty big. I mean, Mickey Mouse is just Disney's persona. Everyone knows that. And Bugs is just, well, I mean, Mel Blanc's persona, I guess. I don't know who the CEO of Warner Brothers is, or at least I don't know, or at least I would have to look it up first. But yeah. So here's a burning question everyone's thinking about, probably. Everyone watching this video. What do I think of human Luna as a furry? The answer is it was actually kind of weird because, like, it's like, oh, suddenly because she looks so different from her wolf form, it's like they earlier in the episode they had a fourth wall break where it's like, oh, the freaks who drool all over you, and then everyone looks at the camera, and I felt that because I sort of thrived off of Luna related content. Like, it's just the amount of views that got. It's holy cheese balls. I'm going to be honest, my natural instinct isn't swearing because I was raised kind of conservative. But anyway, human Luna, she grew on me a little bit. It's like, once I saw her as a human, it's like, oh, she's not a fluffy little puppy anymore. It's like a real human that would actually, like, if in real life, it's like it makes it more intimidating to someone like me. But then, and I was worried, I saw Verosica's human form, and she looked exactly, my feelings toward her, like, she retained her appeal because she retained her visual design, but Luna looks so different that it sort of threw me off. But at first it was like I said earlier, oh, I don't like her anymore. She's a gross human. But since Verosica didn't have that sort of effect, it was like, I think it just has more to do with familiarity and shapes, because Luna's triangular while her human form is round. And Verosica retains her roundness. I like round women, if you couldn't tell. Like, I like round facial features. But at the same time, I am aware that, like Elsa from Frozen, she has a round design, and people don't like that because it's like, oh, she's a weird fish woman. Is this the standard we should hold women to? Women are allowed to have noses. But I don't know, it's kind of cute if it's done right, and if it doesn't have the association to a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And Luna is still round, and I mentioned I liked roundness, but I also like fluffy dog people, so I don't know. The bottom line is I was put off by it at first, but it grew on me, obviously. And, Verosica, I'm drawing her, so I'm going to bring her up a lot. Whatever secret crush I have on a character is none of your business, but yeah, that's the whole psychology. It's like human elements, but also it's removed from humans, so you feel more comfortable engaging with it. Because puppies are cuddly, and it's also the fact that she's goth, which is a very abrasive aesthetic in real life. But the fact that it's a fluffy doggo it gives it that contrast, which makes it interesting. It's like it's a fluffy goth doggo. It's like it makes it adorable. And this episode also has plenty of really cute Luna moments, like she blushes when she sees the other hellhound. So overall, I like the episode, obviously. All the Helluva Boss episodes are. I would recommend Dire Gentleman's videos, which my animatic actually appeared in one of their videos because it appeared in Vivzy Pop Club's fake Has-Been Hotel video, which I posted about that, and people were apologizing to me, and I was like, no, I just think it's kind of funny. I already got way more out of the animatics than I was expecting, so I didn't think anything had been stolen from me. It was just, wow, my video exists and other people are reacting to it sort of indirectly. But anyway, Dire Gentleman made a video talking about how good Helluva Boss is, like, genuinely. And it's like, yeah, it's a legitimate show with legitimately good elements. One of the points they brought up that I liked was that the show does edgy adult humor without sacrificing warmth and heart. Like, Luna has a lot of adorable moments, and Moxie and Millie, which I have not brought up until this point, and I feel like I should. It's like literally the most adorable thing is when he's drunk and he says, I love that woman, and her tail makes a little heart. And I mentioned I love hearts because it's like it's so innocent and wholesome, and yet it can also represent like femininity and empowerment. It's it's very versatile, that heart symbols are. So yeah, overall, good episode, good character design, good everything. And that, I guess that's what I have to say about Helluva Boss up to this point. And of course, I've made bank off of making videos related to it. And what's funny is that Has Been Hotel was supposed to be the main thing, but that there's only one episode and one music video, so there's not much to go off of yet. When episode 2 comes out, if it comes out, there's more stuff. And of course, there's also the Ashley's live streams, which there's plenty of content to go off of there. Another thing Dire Gentleman talked about was that Angel Dust should actually be the protagonist. And now that I think about it, that does make a lot of sense because he has so much depth to him. He grows as a person. It's like, can I be redeemed? Can I break free? Can I break free from this abusive relationship with my pimp boss or whatever? And yeah, that would be very interesting to see. But for now, Helluva Boss fills in the void in terms of content. All right, now we can talk about the shading. So I said earlier, like, I softened the shading, and it's like, what was I talking about? But basically, I tried to go for crisp shading, but then I smoothed it out. And the more round something is, the softer the shading should be, basically. And the hard shadows should go, like cast shadows should be the hardest, the most crisp. And I sort of tried to maintain that, but I don't know. And then once I finished the shading, I added an airbrush layer where I just did overall whatever areas should be darker. I darkened, and it's like when you have multiple layers of shading, it makes it pop more. It makes it feel more finished. It makes it feel more grounded and more interesting. It's very subjective terminology I'm using here, but it basically adds a lot of polish. And then there's a shine layer, which only Paint Tool Sai has a shine layer. But other programs have an addition layer or an add layer, which does mostly the same thing. May even just be the same thing, but just a different name. So I did a soft shading layer, a soft highlight layer, a base shading layer, which I did first. I should mention that. And sometimes I'll take the base shading layer and duplicate it and blur it to add even more softness, and then I adjust the opacities until it all looks correct. And then another thing I do is like backlighting, where I add a layer of light on the edge of an object, which was previously dark, and that really helps to separate from the background and add more interest. And another thing I do is the shading is on a multiply layer, and instead of straight black, I'll color it. Like, I actually sampled the background when coloring this, and I made that the color of the shading, and I put it on a multiply layer, and it makes it feel more part of the world. Like, everything I do as an artist is just making it feel fleshed out. That's generally what you want to do in your art, unless you don't care, which I'm an artist who cares, if nothing else. Never say that I don't care about my art, okay? But and one thing I resolved to do for this year was draw less, actually, because last year I was sort of stuck in 2018 mode or actually 2019 mode. In 2018, I actually didn't draw all that much because I was still figuring out a schedule. But once I got going, it was like, you have to always be drawing, because a drawing is like, it's not just an art piece. It's like a snapshot of time. Like, one thing I noticed about my art was that when I made a drawing, it really encapsulated how I felt in that moment. And it like added color to the month, or to the day, I guess, because a month of drawing will have multiple different colors, obviously, because multiple different drawings. But last year I was like, I have to always be drawing. If I'm not drawing, I have to make up for lost time, and I have to make a drawing to fill this slot, and I have to make a drawing for the first of the month so that I can start the new month. And I just let go of that this year. It's just whenever I have a good idea for a drawing, I'll draw it. And when I do draw, like, I draw less often, but when I do draw, it's like I put extra effort into making it look good. And So yeah, every drawing I come out with, it has a certain degree of polish that many drawings last year may or may not have had. And yeah. And I've heard people say that you shouldn't use a multiply layer, but I found that it looks pretty good, especially when you layer it. And I've had critiques on some of my art saying that the airbrush shading looks like amateurish, but it's not the airbrush shading itself. It's just the fact that if it's all there is, then that's a problem. What you want to do is layer it until it looks like until it has the dimension you want. Like I said earlier, like you want the breasts to look soft, obviously. And what I did was I added extra highlights to make it look shiny, because I don't know the texture of Demon's skin, but here I imagined it's really shiny, I guess. Really smooth. And it was kind of difficult to figure out how to do the shading on the black regions, like on her dress and on her horns, which she actually has a fur coat, but I forgot to draw that. But I mean, she can take off her coat, obviously. And one thing I also forgot to include was the heart on her cheek, which I'll probably add later after this video. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. Just shading is important to add dimension, which is obvious, but one thing you want to do is layer it. Just add soft shading, add hard shading, just put it all together. What do you get? You get a good drawing, hopefully. And also highlights. You want to add highlights. All right, now I need to come up with 4 more minutes of stuff to talk about. I guess I could talk about how I got to doing both 2D and 3D animation. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I grew up with Pixar. I wanted to recreate 3D animation because it was easier at the time, because I didn't know how to draw, and this was like just constructing something. Like you could tweak it, you could add things to it, you could blame the program when things go wrong rather than yourself. But once I got into drawing, it was like I realized that 2D animation was just so much more fun and expressive and loose. And it's kind of sad that it's not done as much anymore, but it's being done slightly more now that there's nostalgia for it. But I actually prefer 3D animation because it's much easier, but ideally I would be doing 2D animation because it looks a lot better. For me personally, it's more expressive, it's more raw, I guess. Like it's just nothing but shapes. There's no fancy effects, it's just the character. But when you're on a YouTube schedule, 3D animation is much more friendly because I could just spend 1 day of effort on, like even that, it's like half a day of effort on a video, and then it would get a bajillion views and people would talk about how good it looked. I mean, I still sort of feel, I don't know how to feel that I got like a bigger animation channel to comment on one of my videos, but all they said was the character should be more expressive, and I can't change that now, can I? I tried to make Luna more expressive in the Luna's Treat video. I actually referenced the show when I was doing that. Like I said earlier, I could do more Luna content, but I don't really feel like it at the moment because that's sort of played out. But yeah, and I mean, I keep bringing up the 2D and 3D stuff because it's like, how can I do both things at once? And it's like, I can't. It's either I do the thing that's easier or I do the thing that's super difficult and I have to force myself to do it. And by the time I finish it, I'm so tired of working on it that it's like I don't want to do this anymore. But one idea I have is to just use EB Synth, because I've actually gotten pretty decent results from just, because one thing I really like about animation is how colorful it can be, and you can't really add color to rough animation. So one thing I might do is use EB Synth to add the color and shading and stuff, and it's like it's there, but I think the more keyframes you add, the more smooth it'll look. So maybe I'll just finalize like all the major key poses and even go into like the breakdown poses, and then those will be the color stuff, and then I'll use EBSynth, what it can do is it'll automatically export it to After Effects and it'll interpolate it for you. So maybe I'll just do that. I don't know. I just like thinking about it. I like thinking about 2D animation more than I like actually doing it. But when it's been long enough and I'm getting down to it and I realize that maybe it's not so bad, that's a pretty good feeling, I think. And maybe I'll make it themed around Helluva Has Been Honey. The 3 H's is what I call it. The Vivzy Pop stuff, you know. So this is pretty much the final drawing. We're coming up on the end here. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Even though I might have some problems with it, there's nothing that I can really change. Maybe if I made her, maybe I could have made her face more readable or something. I don't know, because it's kind of tilted down. But it's pretty easy to read. It looks pretty good. I'm proud of it. Also, the little text bubble, she's saying Blitzo because she pronounces the O in his name, which I had to write it as Blitz without the O in the scripts for my videos because I knew I would accidentally pronounce the O just like she pronounced it deliberately and maliciously. Anyway, yeah, that's the drawing. I would like to thank Mogrim, Innocuous, and Alex Andronix for subscribing to me on Patreon. You're giving me a little extra money, and I'm giving a little extra love through my commissions and stuff. I'm still sort of dealing with the awkwardness of Discord. Like, people will send me a cute emoji or something. It's like, what, do I send another cute emoji back? I don't know what to do. I mean, there's literally nothing could go wrong if I sent a cute emoji, but I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of, I feel naturally inclined to keep things business related. The business of sexy Pokemon, obviously. But yeah, it was surprisingly easy to fill out that full hour of video. I was worried it was going to be difficult, but when you're talking, and you just find things to talk about naturally. But I still had to record on separate days so that I could be in my element while recording, and I'm only in my element at night when no one bothers you, you know. You know, I said earlier, go to bed. I still maintain that. I should go to bed right now. It's pretty late. But there's a good chance you're watching this in the afternoon. So you don't have to go to bed. I'm talking to everyone watching at night. Go to bed. And also thank you for watching, and I hope I can continue to make videos like this. It'll be much easier to make speed paint commentary stuff if I can just talk for 11 minutes rather than editing a perfect line of audio over the course of several days of editing. But if I can just talk for 11 minutes and then slap it in there, it'll make it much easier. So yeah, again, thank you for watching and stay cute.